How's it going, Cane Crushers? My name's Jake Thomas.
And I'm Cullen.
And tonight, we're making our fight picks for UFC Fight Night Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez.
Yeah, man.
All right, let's jump right into
one.
it. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I almost screwed that intro up, but hey, I think I pulled it back in.
I think we got it.
All right. So for the first fight of the night, we have Carlos Boy Felipe versus Sergey Spivak at 265 pounds. Carlos Felipe, he's Brazilian. He's 8-0, 6 feet tall, 25 years old, and he's going against Sergey Spivak, who's Ukrainian. He's 10-2. He's 6 feet 3 inches tall, and he is 25 years old. He's also 1-2 in the UFC right now. Tell me what you think about these guys.
Yeah. So when I was doing my research, this one was a little difficult because it was really, really hard to find anything on Carlos Felipe.
Yeah.
I mean, I struggled. You said you finally found something when you looked up.
I had to look him up under his nickname, Boy. Yeah. So it took me a little bit of time to figure something out.
Yeah. So I couldn't really find too much on Felipe. But from what I saw from Spivak, you know, he looks like he's got okay stand-up. Doesn't look too great, but he's got some clean boxing. He just doesn't throw at a high volume. He looks like he's kind of comfortable on the ground, but he gets controlled a little bit by better wrestlers.
He does. He has 5 submission wins on the ground.
Yeah, he does that. He has 5 submission wins. But we saw with Marcin Tybura, he was able to get on top and just dominate him that way.
Well, Marcin Tybura, though, he's been doing that to people lately a lot.
He has.
I mean, he's kind of setting himself up there. He's kind of putting himself up towards the top guys in the pack right now.
He's getting there.
Marcin Tybura out wrestling someone's not something that's going to turn me away from somebody else's skills, because he does a lot.
Yeah, we know he's got some skill, but it's just what we've seen in the UFC so far. 1 and 2, he's got, what was it, a 50-second knockout versus
Walt Harris.
He was knocked out by Walt Harris.
Yep.
Something like that, 50 seconds, real close. But I mean, so it's kind of hard to gauge him.
The
one fight I liked was
that win though
of Tai Tuivasa.
Tai Tuivasa, yep.
So that was a good win.
That was an arm triangle.
He looked pretty decent. The stand-up actually looked like it was back and forth a little bit in the stand-up. You kicked the damn camera.
Oh, well, let's check it. You're good.
All right, boom. So I mean, we'll see. It's a good fight. There's just not enough known on Felipe for me to really make a pick for him. So I've got Sergey winning by a knockout in round 1.
All right, yeah. So like you said, I was able to find a little bit more information on Carlos Felipe. His last MMA fight was in 2017.
Yep.
So it's been a little while. It's been about 3 years. He did win a boxing match in 2018 though, so that was good. And he's got at least 4 wins by knockout. I did know I had to go back to his Facebook page, and I was kind of trying to figure it out. Back in 2011, he was training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He had a white belt at that point, so I'm assuming at this point he's probably a little bit higher, especially given the fact that he's a Brazilian. There's not a lot out there on him. He does mix in good knees. He has some decent striking, but you don't get to really see a lot of high-level competition on him right now because the video's not out there. He's not really. It's hard to find anything on him. But what I did find, I wasn't super impressed with. To be honest, I felt like Sergey Spivak is miles ahead of him everywhere. I think it's going to go to the ground. I think that Sergey is going to come in and work on taking him down and look for a submission. He's got 5 submission wins on his record. He's a little bit slower with his hands, and I think that Felipe is going to be a little bit faster. He's going to throw those punches, and Sergey is going to change his mind and work on taking it down. I have him by submission in, I didn't put the round on here, round 1.
There you go.
Submission round 1.
So we both have Sergey though.
Yeah.
He's finishing in the first round. We agree.
Yes, I just don't see the skill, and for me, when I'm looking at that skill, if it's not there, it's a problem sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard with Felipe, man, because like you said, there's not much on him.
Yeah. So it's hard to find anything. All right, so now we move on to the next fight. This one's Davi, the Tasmanian Devil Ramos versus Arman Tsarukyan at 155 pounds. Davi Ramos, he's Brazilian. He's 10-3. He's 33 years old. He's 5 feet 6 inches tall, and he's 4-2 in the UFC. And Arman Tsarukyan, he's Armenian. He's 14-2. He's 23 years old, so he's fairly young. He's 5 feet 8 inches tall, and he's 1-1 in the UFC. Tell me a little bit about these guys.
When you look at both these guys right away, you notice that they both have a similar loss. Islam Makhachev?
Yeah,
Makhachev, is that how you say his name?
It's like a Makhachev.
Yeah. They both have decision losses to him.
Islam's tough, though.
He's
that
very
guy's
tough.
a monster, and they
That's
both
what
got
I'm saying.
decision losses.
They both have
to him.
decision losses to Islam,
Yeah.
and he's Khabib's teammate, isn't he?
Yeah.
So yeah,
They're both out of Dagestan out there.
and
So
he's a good wrestler. So you know right away that if you're going to a decision with this guy, you've got some skill, I would say. I mean, you didn't get out grappled too bad.
No.
You did good enough to keep it from getting tapped. So with Arman, you know, I really liked his stand up. And I think he was, what kind of wrestling did they say he had? He has some pretty good wrestling. His counter wrestling is really good too.
I did like his wrestling. What happened there with that, though, is he's at the Muay Thai camp, and so he wrestled growing up a little bit. But in his last fight, when he was training for the Islam, he was training with World Championship wrestlers.
Yeah.
So he brought in a lot of high-level wrestlers to, try to help bridge that gap there, which is smart to do.
Very smart.
So if he's doing these type of things, it's going to make it a very difficult night because he's bringing the right type of guys in to put him in the best position to win.
Yeah, and so I think Hamas, he's a submission guy.
Yes.
So it's going to be a good one. I've got some weird notes down there. I think I wrote some things for the other fight on this one. Damn it. I did. So my notes are a little messed up, but Javi or Davi is
Davi Hamas. Yeah.
His striking, he's a real patient striker. He doesn't
Yeah.
throw with a lot of volume.
Yeah.
But he'll stalk you.
You know who it kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of looking at Husamir Paul Harris.
Yeah.
They have a very similar body type. They're very, very similar in the way that they just kind of stalk you, and then they throw really heavy once they get close to you.
Yeah. And then they're both beasts on the ground. So
yeah.
there's that.
Yeah. So Davi Ramos, he's actually a third-degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
Nope.
In the UFC right now, he's got submission wins over Chris Gutzmacher, Nick Hain, and John Gunther. So he's already submitted a lot of guys. He's the 2015 ADCC World Champion. 2006, he was a World Jiu-Jitsu silver medalist. In 2011, he was the No-Gi Jiu-Jitsu bronze medalist. Overall, he has 7 wins by submissions, and all of his losses come by decision, though. So he does tire down a little bit, and that's because he puts so much power behind everything that he does. And like you were talking about him being a patient striker, he doesn't have the build to go balls to the wall all the time.
No.
With the way that he wants to throw that power, he has to be a little bit more patient to try to preserve energy for the later rounds. Yeah. So, I thought that was a little bit interesting there. But with Arman, like you said, he had he's got pretty good wrestling.
His wrestling's there.
Yeah, he's an Armenian guy. He's 1-1 in the UFC. His loss, like we said, is to Islam, which is no.
It's not a bad loss.
It's not a bad loss. But then he beat Oliver Aubin Mercier.
Yep, and that's a good win.
And that's a really good win. So that's a tough guy to beat right there. And then if you look at it, in 2018, he went and he tried out for the legendary Tiger Muay Thai team. And if you haven't seen it, they have videos on YouTube. It's a legendary process. It's very similar. It reminds me of the people trying to join special forces and stuff like that. They put you through hell. They put you through these crazy, crazy workouts. It's not nearly as long as trying to become a SEAL or anything like that, but it's like a week or something like that. And they bring in guys from all over the world, and they only take the best at the end. They weed guys out all throughout the entire time that they're there. People are leaving for broken bones, injuries, concussions, and stuff like that. It's a brutal tryout process.
Yeah.
And he won that. He won that, so he got to he got a year contract with them where he gets to train there for a year. He's back there right now, so he's done some pretty awesome stuff as far as impressing those guys, and they have a legendary tryout process. He's just a monster overall.
I agree.
So yeah, so I'm pretty excited about him. He has wins over Felipe Olivier and Junior Asensio, former UFC guys. So he's beaten some other UFC caliber guys, just not inside of the UFC yet.
Right.
Besides the one that we talked about with Oliver Aubin Mercier. But I think it's going down to the ground eventually. And if it goes down to the ground, Davi's got the definite advantage. He's a world champion. And I think that he's going to end up getting it down. And he's going to submit him in the 3rd round after he wears him out a little bit.
See, I disagree.
Well,
disagree right there.
We're disagreeing right there.
Yeah, they're right. So if you look at it, I think that the way that Islam, he did get some takedowns on Sarukian.
It was
but
very hard to take him down.
It was extremely difficult for him to take Sarukian down.
And Sarukian was the first guy in the UFC to take him down.
Yes. And Sarukian's counter wrestling. I think that he knows that he's going to be at a disadvantage on the ground. So I think he's going to do what he can to keep it standing. I think he's strong enough to keep it standing.
I thought he was slower on
I think he's going to keep it standing, and I think he's going to end up knocking Ramos out in the second round.
Well, we'll find out. We'll find out right now.
Knockout.
So you and I, we have one pick that's similar, and then we have one pick that's not at all similar.
Yeah.
So then we move on to the third fight. This one's Malcolm Gordon versus Amir Albazi at 125 pounds. Short notice for Malcolm Gordon. He's Canadian. He's 12-3. He's 30 years old, 5 feet 7 inches tall, and he's making his UFC debut. Amir is Swedish, but claimed Iraq and flew the Iraq flag in his fight against Jose Torres. And he's 12-1 in MMA. He's 26 years old. He's 5 feet 6 inches tall, and he's also making his UFC debut. So what do you think about these guys?
So this one, since the last fight had some of my notes for this fight. So if you go to Albazi's wiki page, it's hard to find because I think you can only see the Russian version of it from what I found. But it looks like he's got 14 gold medals in tournament competition between jiu-jitsu and submission wrestling.
Nice.
So that tells me he's got a pretty solid ground game.
Yeah.
When I watched a lot of his fights, he wants to get it to the ground. He uses his striking to set up his takedowns. He doesn't just shoot in for takedowns. He almost always comes in with a strike or something and then takes it down. So based off what I saw there, his striking though isn't that great. It's just, I would call it okay.
I didn't think it was that good.
I'd say it's probably okay. He does have good cage awareness though, so he's able to circle around the cage real well. If somebody is a better striker than him, he can't get down. He knows how to get out of the way. He's pretty elusive. Gordon, he's got good striking. And he has power for a 125er.
Yeah. It's weird power.
It is.
It's weird power. He just touches people and they go out.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
So when he gets on the ground, he's actually has a little bit of wrestling there and some submission defense.
He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he knows how to get up, knows how to stop it there. And I think his last 3 wins were, was it Albazi's last 3 wins are all submissions? I think it was Albazi's last 3 wins are all submissions.
Malcolm Gordon, he's making his UFC debut. He's the former Havoc fighting champion. Yeah. He's the former Prodigy MMA fighting champion. He's the former WXC champion. He also has a win in Bellator. Like I just said, he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He has 4 KOs to his record and 3 submissions. He does like the Kimura. That seems to be his thing that he goes to on the ground, which is funny enough. Amir likes the Kimura as well. He has 6 submissions, and a few of them, I think 3 of them are by Kimura. So they both like the Kimura. They both have a decent ground game. Amir has really good ground and pound.
He does.
And while his striking's not that good, he has a couple of tricks up his sleeve. He throws a spinning back fist every once in a while, and he does throw a flying knee as well. So he has a couple of tricks that you got to look out for. But overall, I wasn't super impressed with his striking.
No.
So
it was Malcolm. He's on 3 submission wins in a row right now.
3 submission wins in a row.
So I think he might be over comfortable on the ground.
He might be
going in against Amir. I don't know if he wants to be on the ground with Amir, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think Amir's a little bit better. I think he's just a little bit better, and I think if it goes to the ground, then you're going to see Amir winning a submission. But for me, I've got Amir winning a decision.
Ooh, you've got him winning a decision. Ooh, I got Malcolm Gordon by KO in round 1.
Ooh,
I just think that his striking's much better.
Think he's going to catch him, huh?
I think his striking's much better. Amir seemed to get hit a little bit when he was trying to work in to get takedowns. Seemed like he was getting hit a little bit, and like we talked about, Malcolm Gordon has that crazy knockout powder.
Yeah, he's got powder.
He's got knockout power. Go to sleep.
It's like hella funny. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see, man. It's going to be an interesting one. I just think his striking's good enough that he's going to be able to get inside and get it down. I think Amir's going to go straight for takedowns here.
We're going to find out.
I don't think he wants to stand with Gordon.
We're going to find out. Well, no, I don't think he does either. I don't think many people want to stand with Gordon.
No.
So that's that fight. We're opposite on that one again. This is going to make another interesting. We got the first one right together, and then the second one we're both opposite. Mm-hmm. So this one right here, I'm actually really excited about this next fight. This next fight's one of my picks for fight of the night. This one's Brett Johns versus Montel Jackson at 135 pounds. This is going to be a super exciting fight. Brett Johns, he's 16-2. He's from Wales. He's 28 years old. He's 5 feet 7 inches tall, and he's 4-2 in the UFC.
Yeah. And those 2 losses are to
Pedro Munoz and Aljamain Sterling.
So
those are really good losses. I mean, it's hard to say good losses, but good people to lose to.
Competition,
The competition level's up there.
And their decisions.
Yeah,
Aljamain Sterling finishes people, and so does Munoz. So
yeah. So then Montel Jackson, he's an American guy, 9-1. He was 8-1 as an amateur. He's 28 years old. He's 4 feet 10 inches tall. He's 4-1 in the UFC, including his win on Dana White's Contender Series.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think about these guys.
Well, Brett Johns, he doesn't really possess a lot of power, and if you look at his record, he only has 2 wins by knockout out of 16 wins. So you can see he's not super powerful.
8 decisions.
8 decisions, yeah.
So,
but he has really solid grappling.
Yeah.
I'd say he's pretty well-rounded in terms of like his overall skill level. He's probably comfortable everywhere. He's just not great anywhere. But he's good enough to, compete with the top-level competition. His fight with Aljamain Sterling was really fun.
Yeah. Sterling, that's a top guy. That's a top 5 guy right there.
And Sterling was able to get him down a couple times, but he was able to get Sterling down. They did some reversals, and eventually Sterling kind of took control. But, he showed me there that he's got enough to hang with the top-level guys.
Yes.
With Jackson, he's got some power, and he's
got really good power.
He's a bigger dude for the division.
And he picks good shots.
And an interesting stat, if you watch the Ricky Simone fight, Montel Jackson versus Ricky Simone, which is Jackson's only loss.
Yep.
I think it was Joe Rogan or John, one of those two, said that Jackson has bigger hands than Francis Ngannou.
Really?
Bigger hands than Francis Ngannou.
That's interesting.
Because I was watching that fight, and in the Ricky Simone fight, Jackson was able to wrap his hand all the way around Ricky's hand and just control him from doing anything.
Nice.
It was crazy. Even on the ground, when Ricky had his back and was on top trying to get a submission, he couldn't do anything because Jackson just grabbed his arm. Oops, we're leaning out. Jackson just would grab his arm and just hold it, and Ricky could do nothing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Ricky out-wrestled him. He just couldn't finish because Jackson was able to get a hold of him.
For me, this is what kind of turned me off with Montel Jackson here. So I was doing the research for him, and I'm looking up information. I run across his Wikipedia page, and on his Wikipedia page, they talk about how he was planning on going to wrestle for the Olympics. Yeah, so they're talking like his high school goal was to go wrestle for the Olympic team, but then the Olympics got cut from the Olympics, so he changed careers, or he decided to change careers. He's not that good of a wrestler. He was never going to the Olympics. I went back, I looked at some of his high school wrestling stuff, his Greco matches. He's got a couple of little things that he does. Same things that you see him do with these trips right here where he ties up the body lock and he steps behind the leg and he whips him down. It's the same technique that he used then. Yeah. That's the same technique he uses now in the UFC. He wasn't that good of a wrestler. They try to promote it like he's a better wrestler than he was. So that kind of turned me off on that. Like you look at Ricky Simone, he's a good wrestler.
He showed it in that fight, too.
Showed it in that fight, but even then, Ricky's not at the elite when it comes to the wrestlers in the UFC.
No.
So, while Ricky's great, there's still levels. There's still levels. So that kind of turned me off on him. What it says is that his friend convinced him to come coach some wrestling drills at MMA, or at an MMA gym, and so he did that, and that turned to him competing in jiu-jitsu tournaments, to him fighting in the UFC. That right there was what kind of turned me off on him, was that whole story. But if you look at it, he does have 5 knockouts. Yeah. He's got 3 decisions, and he has a win by submission too, with a Darce choke over Brian Kelleher, and he dropped him with a sweet elbow right before that. That elbow put him down. He went down. I think he hit him with the left elbow, if I remember right. Hit him with the elbow, dropped him, locked up that Darce, finished the fight. That was pretty nice. So then now I'm going to go back and talk a little bit more about Brett Johns. Brett Johns, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's a black belt in judo. And he's a brown belt in Muay Thai. He's competed in Titan FC, and he's competed in Cage Warriors as well. He's the former Cage Warriors bantamweight champion. So he's been a champion before. He's fought in 5-round fights. But in his next fight where he went to defend it, even though he won that fight, he was stripped of the title because he missed weight. That could potentially play into effect if he's having weight issues, but it's been a long time since then, so I don't think it will be a problem. He also won Performance of the Night against Joe Soto when he beat him with that wicked calf slicer. Then he won a Fight of the Night in his submission win over Tony Gravely. I think that was a decision win, wasn't it?
It
might have been a submission, but I'll double check it.
Yeah. Either way, I think that Brett Johns is a little bit better than Jackson just about everywhere, except for maybe the stand-up, where I think that's going to be Jackson's best bet.
I think that definitely is.
But I don't think that Brett Johns is going to be able to finish Jackson. It's really, really hard to do. Especially if it goes to the ground. Good luck submitting him, because unless he's rocked or something, because he'll do the same thing. He's just going to grab your arm and hold on until it's stood up.
Yep.
So I think Brett Johns is going to win this one by decision.
Yeah, I have Brett Johns winning by decision as well.
All right.
I just think he's a little bit too much on the ground. I think Montel Jackson gets taken down a little bit, and Brett Johns is going to close that distance. If Brett Johns tries to stand with him, he's getting put out.
He'll get picked apart. I think you're going to see some leg kicks. You're gonna see some really strong jabs from Jackson, because he's probably got a little bit of reach on him.
Yep.
But other than that, I think Brett Johns is going to get this to the ground and just grind him for 3 rounds.
I think so. That's kind of what I'm predicting too. So this next fight was kind of hard for me to pick. So the next fight we have Joel Alvarez versus Joe Duffy. This one here, I went back and forth on it a few times. I even might go back and forth on it still now. Joe Duffy is just super tough. And Joel Alvarez, he's still newer to the UFC. It's kind of hard to really make that pick there. But Joel Alvarez, I'll talk a little bit about him. He's from Spain. He's 16-2. He's 27 years old. He's 6 feet 3 inches tall, so he's pretty tall, and he's 1-1 in the UFC. Joe Duffy, he's Joe Duffy, Joe Ireland Duffy. He's from Ireland, or Joe Irish Duffy, and he's from Ireland. He's 16-4. He's 32 years old. He's 5 feet 10 inches tall, and he's 4-3 in the UFC. So tell me a little bit about these guys. What do you think?
Just like you said, man, I was going back and forth on this fight.
Yep.
These guys have a combined 24 submission victories.
That's insane.
24 submission victories. I think Duffy has 10 and Alvarez has 14.
Oh, I saw Alvarez. I only saw 9 on his record.
It's pretty crazy, dude. There's a lot.
9, and so yeah.
It might be 10 for him and 14 for Duffy. I might have got it backwards.
I don't know. I might have gotten that wrong in there.
24 submission victories between the two of them. The one thing that I like about Duffy is he's really fucking tough.
He's durable.
He's so tough. And so I'm going to go ahead right away and just say I picked Duffy to win this fight. But it was back and forth. It's a potential fight of the night. In my opinion, potential fight of the night. My thing is with Duffy is, as I went back and I watched several of the other fights, and you remember his fight versus Dustin Poirier.
Yes.
That fight was super competitive, man.
It was very competitive. All of his fights have been really competitive.
Yeah, DP, and we look at where DP is now, and Duffy almost finished him twice.
Yeah.
There was one point where what did he have on him? He had I think that was at the end of the 3rd round. He had a triangle choke on DP where he's just landing these elbows. And DP was done. If it went another maybe 10, 15 seconds, DP was going out. He was in that thing deep. But that was the end of that fight, and DP won the decision, but it was a hard-fought decision.
Yeah, so you're right there when you said it. Yeah.
So they, like I said, 24 submission victories between the two of these guys.
That's insane.
I don't know. I wonder if there's been another combined record where they've got submission victories in MMA that add up to 24. Who do you think, Damian Maia versus anybody else?
I don't know. There's probably some out there.
It's very close. That's a lot of submission victories.
So
I mean, both these guys are really well versed on the ground. I think Duffy has the better stand-up, based off what I've seen.
So here's where I kind of differ with you a little bit. Joe Duffy he has a hard time with tall guys, and he has a hard time with leg kicks. He eats a ton of leg kicks, and the taller guys, if you look at his fight where he got knocked out against what was his name? James Vick. So when he got knocked out against James Vick kind of used that height. He stood back, he landed some good leg kicks, and it was a competitive fight. It was good. Joe Duffy was in the fight, just like he is in every fight, but that range was too much for him.
Yeah.
That height was too much of a problem for him, and that was one of James Vick's or Joe Duffy's 2 losses going in back to back. He lost that one to James Vick.
Isn't James Vick like 6'3" though, and he's like
That's my
170?
Point. That's
Alvarez
my point.
is only 2 inches taller than Duffy.
Actually, Alvarez, I got him being 6'3" is what I have him down as. I have him as
6 feet
6'3".
160, or that's a little, or 6 foot 161. So that's kind of probably his average weight. But
right here on Tapology.com says 6'3".
So it's interesting. Who knows how tall he really is?
That's why right there that kind of played a little bit into my choice.
But I don't know that he's that tall.
But it didn't play that much into my choice. Joel Alvarez is the AFL lightweight champion. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, like you said. 9 submissions. He uses his height really well, and he has some solid ground and pound. Joe Duffy, if he goes to the ground with him, despite the amount of submissions he has, I think he might be in trouble because this Alvarez guy is slick. But overall, I think that Joe Duffy's just fought the tougher competition, and I gave him the win by decision based on the fact that I think he's fought the tougher competition.
Yeah, even his Wikipedia page has him listed. Oh, no. What? This is Teb.
That's not. Going on? I don't know where they're getting it from.
6 foot. He's a little bit taller than Duffy. We'll just say that. Some of the other fights that he had were just absolutely insane fights.
Oh yeah. Well, and he's a true mixed martial artist. So he's a black belt in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. He's a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he's a black belt in Taekwondo. He's also competed as a professional in boxing. He's 7-0 as a professional in boxing. So as far as the competition goes, he's done it. He's a true mixed martial artist. He's always trying to add new skills, and he's always trying to get better. As you can see with the fact that even though he's a Japanese Jiu-Jitsu black belt, he's working on getting his brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, yeah, we both got Joe Duffy by decision. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So there we go. There we go. That's back-to-back that are the same, yeah?
There we go. All right, so now we move on to the next one. This one I'm actually super excited about as well. Grant Dawson versus Nad Mirimani. This is a catchweight fight at 150 pounds. Both these guys usually fight around 145. Given the fact that it's Fight Island and all that stuff, they are doing a lot more catchweight fights. Grant Dawson, he's an American. He's 15-1, 26 years old, 5 feet 10 inches tall, and he's 4-0 in the UFC. He has... Well, we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
So he's 4-0 in the UFC, including a win on the Contender Series. And then if you look at Nad Narimani, he's from England, but he trains with Team Alpha Male. He's 12-3. He's 33 years old. He's 5 feet 8 inches tall. He's 2-1 in the UFC. Tell me what you think about these guys.
It's an interesting fight, like you said. Dawson is one of those guys that I think I'm pretty excited for him overall. I think he's got a bright future. He's got really good submission defense. I've seen him put on his back a couple times and people going for some submissions, and they just could not lock it in.
Nope.
He's just really good on the ground overall. I like his ground game.
So he's a brown belt right now in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
And when he gets on top, good luck. Because he's got a dominant top game.
And this is another guy with a lot of submissions.
Yeah.
So he has 11 submission wins.
And then when you look at Narimani, I thought he had the better stand-up based off what I saw. He too has a few submission wins. I don't remember exactly how many. I just know he's got a few submission wins himself. And then he showed a solid ground game versus Anderson Dos Santos. That one was kind of back and forth, in that fight. And Dos Santos is no slouch on the ground.
No.
So we're going to see. I think Grant has the better grappling. And I really think that Grant's going to be able to get it to the ground. And I think Grant's actually going to finish it via submission round 2.
So that's a good prediction. But I don't think that Nad Narimani is going to be able to handle him.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to handle
He's got a decision win over Julian Erosa, and then he has 2 submission wins in the UFC over Derek Minor and Mike Trizano.
Yeah, that was the most recent one coming in February.
Yeah, so I just don't think that Nad's got the experience for him. He does have the camp with him, but I got Grant Dawson by decision.
Not a bad choice.
All right, so that's another
Could
one we
be.
have the same fighter picked.
I'm just thinking, man, you look at him. I think Minor's a better fighter than who are we talking about right now? Nimrati? Nadmirati? I don't remember his name. But either way, Dawson's a better fighter. He's going to win.
Yeah, I think he's going to win it. I would agree with you on that. So then we're going to go down to the next one right here. So the next fight, we have Kadis Ibragimov versus Roman Dolidze at 205 pounds. Kadis is from Dagestan, Russia. He's 25 years old. He's 6 feet 3 inches tall. He's 8-2 overall, and he's 0-2 in the UFC. And his opponent, Roman, is 6-0. He's Georgian. He's making his UFC debut. And he's the former WWFC champion.
Yeah, I had fun saying that one.
Yeah, I know, right?
WWFC. Got to get that in there. But, one with Kadis, you're going to notice that when he throws his punches, he doesn't just throw one punch. He doesn't just throw 2 punches. He doesn't just throw 3 punches. He throws punches in bunches. Mm-hmm. And he blitzes every single time he does it. He'll just throw mad combinations. He likes a good brawl.
Yeah.
If you're going to brawl with him, boom. With Dolidze, is that how you say his name?
I don't remember.
I watched a few of his fights. He has, I think, what is he, 3-3, 3 submissions, 3 knockout wins?
Yeah, he started out with 3 career submissions, and the last 3 have all been knockouts.
Yeah. He's another one of those guys that when you look at him, he's got a real thick build, looks like he's got a lot of power. And from the knockouts I watched, he was putting dudes to sleep. They weren't TKOs, they were knockouts. He carries himself, pretty well. He's like in the cage. He's kind of just slow and methodical, like I mentioned that before on some other guys. He likes to pick his shots, and he'll get in there and lay some pipe, man.
Lay some pipe? He's going to get in there and lay some pipe. He's going to fuck this dude right on TV.
You're not going to be able to stop it. So I think what you're going to see is you're just going to see Dolidze get in there, and he's going to land a big shot. I think that's what he's going for, and he's comfortable if it goes to the ground.
So I'm a little bit worried about this one here because this is his UFC debut.
Yep.
His UFC debut actually got put off for a while.
Yeah, I think this exact fight was supposed to be scheduled on April 11th.
Well, even before that, he tested positive for steroids. It was another similar situation. He admitted to the use before signing with the UFC. Mm-hmm. He had told him that, I had used it. Admitted it. You sought to reduce the discipline based on the circumstances. And now here he is finally making his UFC debut. My only problem that I have with him is given the fact that he admitted the use of the steroids, I have a feeling he was probably using them in his other 6 fights.
Probably.
Now that he's had some time off of steroids, what's going to happen there? The other thing is...
It is an interesting case.
The other thing is he's a little bit of a can crusher. Looking at some of his videos, those guys that he was fighting, they weren't the best guys in the world. You look at Kadis, though. Kadis, he is a Sambo fighter. He's a Russian combat Sambo champion. Mm-hmm. He's a European combat Sambo champion. He's the World Universal Combat Sambo champion. And he was the M1 light heavyweight champion for a little while. So there's just different levels to me. And when I look at that, what's going on with Kadis there, he's got better credentials to me. He's got 3 wins by submissions. I did realize, though, he didn't like to get hit.
No, he doesn't.
So whenever he gets touched, he kind of turns away and he looks back a little bit, or he looks for that takedown. Yeah. So I noticed those things there. The other problem that he has, though, is he runs into conditioning issues. As it goes later in the fight, because like you were talking about how he likes to throw like 10, 12, 20 punch combos.
Blitzes.
He just throws a crazy ton of punches at one time. It forces him to tire out later on. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing to take into consideration there. But I still think that Kadis is going to be able to take home a decision.
Yeah, we're going to find out. I mean, he's only 8-2 in the MMA. He fought a hard-fought decision loss to Ed Herman. Yep. I watched that one. That was actually a really good fight. The one I didn't see...
Ed Herman out-grappled him.
He did out-grapple him, and I'm thinking that... I don't think he wants to go to the ground with this other dude either. Roman's looked pretty good, even if you don't look at the competition. Yeah. Based on what you see with his skill set, with what he was doing in there, he looked really good on the ground. There's one, I think it was a heel hook submission that he had.
Yeah.
It looked like
he was on
that
top,
thing was slick.
Dropped back and pulled that.
It was slick, but I mean the loss that Kadis has to Daung Jung.
Yeah.
I did not see that one, but that was a submission loss. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Who knows?
We'll find out.
That's what happens when you get all these guys making UFC debuts. There's been so many people making debuts over the last week.
I know, right? It's crazy.
We got 3 cards in 7 days.
It's so crazy.
It's been rough.
But this next fight, though, this next fight's going to be awesome. So this one's Alexandre Pantoja versus Askar Askarov at 125 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? This is going to be awesome.
It's going to be fun.
Alexandre, he's Brazilian. He's 22-4. He's 30 years old. He's 5 feet 5 inches tall. He's 8-3 in the UFC. And his partner, Askar Askarov, is Russian, 11-0-1. He's 27 years old. He's 5 feet 6 inches tall. He's 1-0-1 in the UFC, so he has 1 win, and that's by decision over Tim Elliott, and he has a draw against Brandon Moreno. Tell me what you think about these guys.
Well, I was really excited when I was watching Pantoja's videos.
Yeah.
He looks like he's the next deal coming up through the 125 division there. Yeah. I mean, he's got his ground game is excellent.
Well, and he's been with the UFC for a while. So he came in around the same time Tim Elliott did through the Ultimate Fighter series. He was on that champion series there.
Okay.
He didn't end up winning it, but he is the former RFA champion, and that's what put him into that show there. So he's 8-3 in the UFC, including that time on the Ultimate Fighter. Mm-hmm. He's pretty good. You know, he has
looks really good.
2 back-to-back submission wins or not back-to-back. I think he won one, lost, and then he won another. But his last 2 wins are both first-round submissions, and that was over Wilson Reyes and Matt Schnell. So those are all tough guys there.
Matt Schnell was a knockout win. Great one. He did lose.
I'm sorry, I said knockout, but those are both submission, or those were, I said submission, those were both knockout wins. Yeah.
And
in between that, though, he lost to the headliner tonight.
Yeah, tonight's headliner.
Yeah. So Figueiredo, that one was decision.
Decision loss,
right.
Yep.
So he lost to him by decision. Oh, I have it right here in my notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's got 8 knockouts overall. He's got 8 submissions overall, and he has 6 decisions. So you know he can go
the guys too that he submitted early on.
I mean, you know he can go the distance.
Neil Seary.
Yep.
Not a bad one. Damasio Page.
Yeah.
Actually, I think he put him to sleep because that was a technical submission.
I don't even remember, but
yeah. So I mean, Damasio Page has a name too.
Damasio.
So I mean, it looks good.
Hey, he was another guy on the Tap Out show.
Yeah.
Remember that?
So I mean, Pantoja looks really good, man. He's got really good power too. I watched him in a couple of his fights, dropping dudes and then getting on top and just grinding them out or submitting them.
Yeah.
Askarov has a really good jab and good movement.
Yep.
Joe Rogan actually mentioned that in his fight versus Tim Elliott. You know, he's got this really sneaky jab that he just pops out there that you don't see coming.
Yep.
So he's got that. He's another one of those guys.
Tim Elliott won last night?
Yeah, Tim Elliott. You know, Askarov's another one of those guys that he's got really, really good movement and good boxing. His boxing's just really good.
Yep.
Don't know how he is on the ground too much.
He has 6 submissions.
Yeah, there you go. He's got the 6 submissions, but he was put on his back, and you know the Tim Elliott fight. Tim Elliott put him on his back a lot, but I mean it's Tim Elliott. He's put a lot of people.
Tim
on
Elliott's
their back.
kind of a wild man, but you know when he in his draw against Brandon Moreno, those guys went back and forth.
Yep.
Brandon Moreno put him on his back, but he also put Brandon Moreno on his back. The one thing I did see though is he got hit a lot. He has 10 finishes, 6 are by submission, 4 by knockout. He's the former ACB flyweight champion. But I just don't think it's enough. I think that Pantoja submits him in round 2.
Got him going down. See,
I got him submitting.
I got Pantoja in round 2 as well.
I think it's
I got him by knockout.
Ooh, I don't think it's gonna be by knockout. I think
it's gonna be a
too
TKO.
Good. I think it's going to the ground. Askarov's gonna shoot in, try to put him on the ground, and when that happens, Pantoja's gonna submit him.
See, I don't know if Askarov's gonna try to shoot on him. That'd be a bad idea.
I mean, he shoots on other people.
He does, but it'd be a bad idea. I think he's got to try to keep this one standing if he wants to win. But I think what's going to ultimately happen is it is going to the ground. But I just think Pantoja, I don't even think he's going to submit him. I think he's just going to beat the hell out of him from the top until the ref stops it.
He's got 8 submissions, so we'll see. But he also has 8 knockouts.
Yeah, all right, like I said, he's got good power for a 125er.
Yeah, it's crazy. So now we're going to move on to the next one. This one's Ariana Lipski versus Luana Carolina.
The queen of violence, Ariana
Queen
Lipski.
of violence, yeah. So she's from Brazil. She's 12-5. She's 26 years old. She's 5 feet 6 inches tall. She's 1-2 in the UFC with a decision loss to Molly McCann, who lost last night, and a decision loss to Joanne Calderwood, my favorite fighter.
Tough fight, too.
She looked good.
She did look good in that fight.
So then let's go on to the next girl real quick. Luana Carolina. She's Brazilian, 27 years old, 5 feet 6 inches tall. She's 2-0 in the UFC, including her win on Dana White's Contender Series over Mabel Lee Lima. She also beat Priscilla Cochera. What do you think about these girls?
Well, like you said, we talked about the Joanne Calderwood fight.
Yep.
That was a good fight. She looked like, obviously,
a really good fight.
Obviously, Calderwood looked like the better fighter. She got the win.
She
dominated the ground game as it got later.
Early on,
but it was competitive.
Lipsky was lighting her up.
Yeah, she was landing shots, and she was able to hold her own on the ground for the most part there in the first round, especially.
JoJo's got much improved wrestling over the last couple of years. She's got a submission win recently, or not necessarily recently, but.
I don't like how, so she's got kind of like, when she boxes or when she's doing her stand-up, she kind of has like a tall, upward.
That's the Muay Thai style.
I was going to say, it looks Muay Thai style, but it's almost not so Muay Thai because she stands flat-footed too.
Well, a lot of Muay Thai fighters do though.
But
if you watch a lot of actual like Muay Thai fights, they do stand flat-footed. Super flat-footed, straight up and tall, bouncing that knee in the front there.
Yeah, they'll bounce the knee up, but she doesn't even do that. She's just flat. She just stands flat, tall, and like this.
No, it's very Muay Thai.
It's an awkward stance.
She has
power though.
Good power.
She has power.
Yeah, so she's got 6 knockouts on her record. She's the former KSW flyweight champion, but she hasn't knocked anybody out since 2016.
No, and she also, it's. If the fight goes to the ground, I think she's good enough on there based off what we saw with, Joanna and a couple of her other fights. She's pretty solid on the ground in terms of defending. Mm-hmm. She's got good submission defense and stuff like that. With Luana, though, Luana doesn't have, like, any head movement whatsoever.
Nope.
Like, no head movement.
She sits still.
Even, I think, was it Joe Rogan? It's another Joe Rogan reference, but I'm pretty sure.
Well, he's a commentator.
He's a commentator, but if you're watching the fights and you're listening, even Joe's saying, dude, it's like, she's on a pole, man. She does not move her head at all.
Well, I talk a lot about this with wrestling, the center line, right? Mm-hmm. So in wrestling, oftentimes, if you're trying to score a takedown, you can't just attack straight in front of you. You have to find a way to get that head off the center line, so that way you can create an angle. In boxing, you have to move your head off of that center line to prevent yourself from getting hit.
Yeah.
So she stays right there on that center line, and I think that's the reference you were talking about, because she's just right there.
She just stays there.
All you got to do is stay right there. The punches, if you're going to walk that line right there, never move off of it, the punches are just going to keep going right there.
Yep. And so with that, she has no head movement, and when she throws her punches, she always puts her chin
up high.
So there's potential for a knockout in this fight just because of the way she punches.
In fact, I have Lipsky picked to knock her out in round 1.
See, I wanted to do Lipsky by knockout, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Because Luana does have good lateral movement. Even though she keeps her head on a center line and she throws with her chin in the air, she's really, really good at circling around the cage away from her opponent's power.
And I didn't feel like she had much power herself, Luana.
She does not have much power at all.
And
she's not afraid to get in there, stand and trade either if she gets inside. If she can get inside and get out of the range of Lipsky, she might make it a fun fight. But I just think that Lipsky's winning decision here.
Ooh, so we got the same fighter once again.
Yeah, we're getting a few of them that are going the same.
That's a lot this time.
But we do have a couple that's going to separate us down the road.
And the other thing that's going to separate us is the method.
Yeah, we've got a few where our methods are off a little bit, but we've got the same rounds picked on those too. We just have the methods different.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
But you look at those fighters that we're picking opposite, they're dead even on their finishes. Yeah. 8 submissions, 8 knockouts, 5-5, something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So who knows, man? It's going to be fun.
So then we move on to the next fight, though. This one is going to be a pretty interesting fight. This is going to be a fun one. Mark Diakis versus Rafael Fiziev at 155 pounds. I was really excited watching these guys and studying this fight right here. Mark is from the Dominican Republic of Congo. He's 14-3. He's 27 years old. He's 5 feet 10 inches tall, and he's 5-3 inside of the UFC with notable wins over Joe Duffy and Frankie Perez. Mm-hmm. And then Rafael Fiziev, he's from Kazakhstan, but he also trains at Tiger Muay Thai. Once again, that's that legendary camp over there where you have to go through the tryout process. He's 7-1 as a fighter, as a professional fighter. He's 27 years old. He's 5 feet 8 inches tall, and he's 1-1 in the UFC. With his loss coming by spinning back kick to Magomed Mustafaev. So that's him.
Yeah.
What do you think about these guys?
It's an interesting fight for a couple reasons here. So you obviously mentioned the Tiger team there. For Fiziev, he switches his stances a lot.
A lot.
All like you'll notice it in a lot of his fights.
He's comfortable.
He switches his stances. He's an elite striker, man. That's just the way it is. Even you look at his record, he's kind of a can crusher too.
Yep.
But he has elite striking. You can't take away from his ability just based off who he fought there.
Yeah.
He also he has a lot of power too. He can put you to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But with Mark, man, he's got power as well.
He has 6 knockout wins.
He's got power as well. I think he uses his leg kicks.
So Rafael's got 5 knockout wins.
There you go.
And Mark has 6 knockout wins.
Yeah.
So they both have knockout power.
But we've also seen Mark against the better competition, so we kind of know his overall ability. I can gauge that a little bit better. But with Mark, he likes those kicks, dude.
He's got wicked striking.
His striking is crazy too, and he likes the calf kick that everybody's doing now. He uses that a lot.
Yep.
So with Rafael, I just don't know that there's enough tape on him to really gauge it versus like opponents that he's fought. It's hard. It's one of those ones again. It's really hard because we see that he's got the skill. We see the camps that he's at so the skill's there. We just haven't seen it versus the same competition that Mark's fought.
Yeah, so Mark, talking about that competition, he's the former Bama champion as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he's fought at the championship level before. He's done the 5-round fight thing. He's got great striking, 6-0, or not 6-0, 6 knockouts, and he has 7 decisions. So if it goes the distance, he's comfortable with that. He's done it many times before, and he can do it again. And for that reason, I went with Mark by decision in this fight.
Yeah, I have Mark actually finishing this fight with a knockout. Well, not a knockout. I'm calling a TKO round 2. I think he's just going to beat up Rafael's legs, and I think that by the end of round 2, you're not going to be able to see Rafael walking anymore.
Ooh, that's an interesting choice. But you know what? If there's a guy that can kick the hell out of your legs like that, Mark is the one to do it.
Mark's one of them.
Mark is the one to do it.
Yeah,
all right,
man.
so this next fight, I'm really excited about this one. This is our co-main event of the night. This one's Jack Hermansson versus Kelvin Gastelum at 185 pounds. Jack Hermansson, he's ranked 6th right now, and he's Swedish. He's 20-5. He's 32 years old, and he's 6 feet 1 inches tall and 7-3 in the UFC. He has notable wins over Ronaldo Souza, Thales Leites, Thiago Santos, and David Branch. So he's pretty experienced in the UFC. Going against Kelvin Gastelum, the American, he's 16-5, 28 years old, 5 feet 9 inches tall. Won the Ultimate Fighter and got several notable wins to his record. Tell me what you think about these guys.
This fight is going to be close. It was really, really hard for me to pick. Mm-hmm. Like, based instinct alone, I wanted to go, we've seen Kelvin Gastelum against the best of the best, and at 170, 185, he's kind of been fighting everybody, Beat Michael Bisping, beat Souza as well in a split decision. So they have similar opponents there. But it's just one of those crazy fights, man, because when you watch Hermansson, he's a good wrestler too.
He's a really good wrestler.
I think everybody knows that Gastelum's a good wrestler. If you watched his time from the Ultimate Fighter going up through 170, 185, he likes to wrestle.
Yep.
Hermansson is a really good wrestler too.
Yeah.
Hermansson, I think, it's hard to say if he has better striking, but he's more loose with his striking, if that makes sense.
I felt like his striking was a little bit more crisp.
Yeah, it's more crisp, a little bit
He's got 11 knockouts.
He
has 11 knockouts, too. So, his boxing is there. He also has 5 submissions and 4 decision wins to his record. So, I hate those little bugs.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, I think that's what that lady was commenting on, thinking I'm talking on drugs.
Oh, yeah. Hella funny. But, yeah.
So 4 decisions. He was scheduled to fight Chris Weidman as well. Mm-hmm. That was before COVID forced that to get canceled. And then now here he is fighting Kelvin Gastelum instead a couple months later.
Yeah.
So if you're going to put 2 guys together, these are a couple of good guys to put together. I think if I remember right, Kelvin Gastelum's ranked 7th in the UFC right now. I think I might have put it in my notes. I might not have. Sometimes I forget to put that in there. But I think he's ranked 7th. Can you look that up for me?
Pull that up.
But despite that, you know, Hermanson went 0-2 in Bellator. He's also a former Cage Warriors champion before coming over here. After his Bellator run didn't go so well.
So they're 6 and 7 right now.
Yeah, so Kelvin Gastelum's 7, Jack Hermanson's 6. If you look at who Kelvin Gastelum's lost to in his last couple of fights, he lost to top title contender Darren Till, and he lost to champion Israel Adesanya. And he lost both of them by decisions.
And the Till fight could have gone his way, too.
Could have gone his way. Could have gone his way.
It's a close fight.
You know, and you know, he beat, like you said earlier, former champion in Michael Bisping. He also beat former champion in Vitor Belfort. Granted that it got overturned because he tested positive for marijuana. We'll still consider that a win because he knocked him out in the first round. He also beat former champion Johnny Hendricks. So he's got several champs that he's beaten. He's a high school state champion himself. He's got 7 knockouts, including that knockout over Vitor Belfort. And he has 4 submissions. When we look at these guys here, the thing that I thought separated them a little bit was the speed factor. I think that Kelvin Gastelum is just a little bit faster.
And has more power.
And for that reason, I chose Kelvin Gastelum to knock him out in the first round.
You got the first round?
I just think that he's going to be able to connect. He throws fast enough. Hermanson doesn't move very fast. And I think that Gastelum's going to hit him with it and put him on his ass.
I think so, too. I don't know about the first round, though. I've got Gastelum beating him in a TKO round 3. I think what's going to happen is I think you're going to see a lot of grappling exchanges between these guys.
You
I think the first couple rounds they're probably going to feel each other out because they both know they've got the wrestling. They both know they can put it away.
Yeah,
it's either going to be a really boring first round, and then it'll pick up, or it's going to be exciting from the bell.
I think it's going to be exciting from the bell.
So
I think they're coming right at each other. I think that Hermanson's going to start coming to close the distance, and Gastelum is going to meet him right in the middle, and they're just going to start going from there.
Yeah.
I think that that's just kind of the style of that these two have.
Hermanson likes the circle too, though. He likes the circle, so he'll let Gastelum have that middle.
But we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. Either way, we both think Gastelum's going to knock him out, right?
Yep. He got knocked out in his last fight. Hermanson got knocked out in his last fight. So I just think that it's going to happen again. Yep. Yeah. So that's a good one. Then we move on to our main event. This one right here is Joseph Benavidez versus Deiveson Figueiredo at 125 pounds. This is a rematch. The first time, Figueiredo won by TKO in the second round, but he had missed weight by about 1.5 pounds. Or actually, it might have been 2.5 pounds.
2.5 pounds.
Championship weight, you have to make the actual weight. You don't get the pound allowance.
So he was ineligible for the title at that point.
Yep, it was ineligible for the title. Even though he won the fight, he didn't get the belt, and now they're running it back again. We'll see what ends up happening here. Joseph Benavidez, he's American. He's 28-6 as a professional fighter. He's been with the UFC since the merger of WEC UFC. So he was fighting in the WEC before that, and he ended up making his UFC debut back at UFC 128. Here we are,
around
UFC
a long time,
250 man. Plus. You know? So this is pretty awesome. 15-4 inside of the UFC. That's a super impressive record. If you can get a record like that, you're a top level dude for sure. And then he goes against Deiveson Figueiredo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Sorry. Then he goes against Deiveson Figueiredo, who's Brazilian. He's 18-1. He's 32 years old, 5 feet 5 inches tall, and he's 7-1 in the UFC. All right, tell me a little bit more about these guys and what you think.
If you saw the first fight, the first fight was that first round was really exciting. We had everything. We had some good striking exchanges. We had grappling exchanges with Figueiredo threatening. I think he had an arm.
Yep.
So, I mean, you saw everything. And in the second round, they get up and then...
and it was a close round.
Yeah, the first round was really close.
When you and I were talking about that round, I don't know if your opinion changed or not, but originally you said that you thought that
I think the first round
Benavidez won.
Definitely could have been Benavidez.
I thought that Figueiredo won that first round.
Yeah, could have gone either way.
You know, that was a close first round right there.
Yeah, I think with me, what I was looking at mostly is that with Benavidez, he was getting inside and he was landing a lot of shots. Shots weren't doing much damage, clearly. They didn't look like they did anything to Figueiredo, but he was landing clean on the face, on the chin, behind the ear, everywhere.
The other thing about it was Figueiredo looked a lot bigger.
A lot bigger.
So I didn't feel like, it's hard to say this because we've seen Benavidez knock some dudes out. But I didn't feel like he has the knockout power. And with that first round, yeah, he hit him a little bit, but it looked like Figueiredo hit him with the harder punches.
Yep.
Controlled the cage a little bit better. And as we were talking about with that submission attempt, I thought that Figueiredo won that first round. Could have gone either way. Super close round. We go into the next round, and
starts out much the same.
Very much the same.
Benavidez getting inside, picking him apart a little bit, just keeps hitting him. But we could call them patty shots if you want. I don't know, because they did not seem to do anything to Figueiredo.
Yeah.
And eventually Figueiredo realized that they didn't hurt. They didn't do anything.
Nope.
And
he just got his timing, kind of stopped
got
down.
patient with it and just started timing it. And at that point, he just laid him out one punch.
One punch, put him out.
So it's another one of those. But I think with this rematch here, Figueiredo is going to be forced to cut that extra weight to get down to 125.
He's going to have to.
If he doesn't do that, it'll be interesting to see if Benavidez actually takes the fight. If he misses weight.
I mean, if I'm Benavidez, I'm already out there. I might as well take the paycheck.
You might as well.
Plus, you get the 30%.
But it's going to be crazy. It'd be a really petty move if he just decided, nope, I'm not going to do it because last time you did it and you knocked me out, I'm not going to do that again.
But I can see it.
I can see it. That's what I'm saying. I could see him doing something like that based off merit.
I could see it.
If you're not going to be a pro, why should I?
Yeah. You know, and so the other thing about it, though, what I didn't like about with Joseph Benavidez, I don't know necessarily that I didn't like it. What I noticed about him, though, is that every time that he's had a match where he's lost the match and then he came back for a rematch, he didn't win that rematch.
We also got to look at who he fought in those fights, though.
Yeah, but he didn't make improvements. So I didn't feel like he made improvements.
It's hard to improve against Dominic Cruz and Mighty Mouse.
So those two there, he didn't win those. But then again, the other thing we have to notice, also thinking about who he fought, he's 0-3 right now in title fights.
Yeah, that was one thing that really swayed me a little bit because I kept looking at that and I'm just like, dude, he's another Uriah Faber.
But he does exactly. But he doesn't lose fights that are not for the title.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. I think he's 35 years old, almost 36. I think he turns 36 like this month or next month.
Yeah. Well, and he's no longer with Alpha Male, so he hasn't been with them for a little while.
About 2016, if we read that right.
Yeah, so he hasn't been there for a little while, but guess who is there?
Figueiredo is at Alpha Male.
He is at Alpha Male.
So it's interesting.
So he gets a little bit of, insider knowledge there. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I think he had it in the first fight too, because the first fight was only back in February.
And
he was with Alpha Male then as well. So.
Yep.
But
so who'd you pick to win?
I think what you're going to see in this fight is that Benavidez is going to realize that he has the speed advantage.
He did have the speed advantage.
And I think he realizes he doesn't have the strength. He's not going to be able to hang with him on the strength department. He doesn't have the power that Figueiredo has.
Yep.
So I think what you're going to see is Benavidez making the adjustments, hopefully, because this is his final title fight, in my opinion. If Benavidez loses this title fight at almost 36 years old, I don't know that we're going to see him in another title fight for the rest of his career. So for me, he's got to go all out.
Which is unfortunate because, he's world championship level.
Absolutely.
He just can't get those top guys.
He just can't close the deal.
No.
So I think, but I'm hoping, and I'm putting all my stock in Benavidez right now. Because I'm thinking Benavidez is going to come out there and know what he can and can't do in this fight.
Right.
He's going to just dance around and pick him apart.
All right. Well,
drag it into those later rounds where he can make it a little bit more even on the ground there.
We'll see what ends up happening.
Wins a decision, in my opinion. Benavidez' decision. Gets his revenge.
You know what? I am predicting Deiveson Figueiredo again by knockout. This time, we're going to go with round 3, though. I think that he's going to wear him out just a little bit more, hit him with some bigger punches. And as you said, he's going to make adjustments, right? So Benavidez is gonna make adjustments. It's gonna be harder to hit him. He's not going to have those openings up. He's probably gonna keep his hands in a little bit better position, knowing he doesn't want to feel that power from Figueiredo. And I think Figueiredo is gonna have to create those openings more, and he's gonna have to hit him with more punches, and he's gonna have to work harder to create those openings, and that's why it's gonna drag out to the 3rd round.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun night of fights.
Yeah, I'm excited.
3rd card, 7 days.
Oh, man, it's been a grind, but it's been so fun.
It's been fun, man.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
We do this for you guys.
Hey, you know what? Before we get out of there, or before we get out of here.
Everybody go ahead and grab your
Grab
cans.
your cans. All right, let's crush these cans.